Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Immersive Arts Funding Information Webinar. It's an absolute pleasure to see so many of you joining us today from around the UK. There's about 200 of us at the moment, and we'll welcome others to join us as they arrive. But it's really great to see you today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll make a bit of a start. And hello, of course, to those who are joining us at a later date, watching online. You're very welcome. My name is Verity McIntosh. To offer an audio description, I am a white cisgender woman in my 40s with brown curly hair, glasses, and I think bright pink and blue plectrum earrings today with tassels. So it's one of those kinds of days. I am the director and the principal investigator for Immersive Arts, and I will be hosting this session today. A few logistical points to start with to get us all comfortable and settled in. There is a Q&A box towards the bottom of your screen that will become available towards the end of the session. We'll have a Q&A at the end of the session once we've given you a little bit more information so that you can ask any remaining questions or ask for more detail that you have about the programme. We're looking forward to hearing from you then, and we will address as many of those questions as we can during the Q&A at the end. There's no attendee chat function today. We've got the chat open so that we can feed through useful links and information as we go. But if you do want to contact us with anything other than a question, do feel free to contact us via our email, which is info@immersivearts.uk. That's info@immersivearts.uk. So if you're having technical difficulties, for instance, that's a great way to contact us. Today's session will be in spoken English with British Sign Language interpretation provided by Claire and Claire from Signing Works. A warm welcome to you both. Claire and Claire will be appearing on screen alongside the speakers throughout. If you prefer to communicate with us in Welsh, please do so when asking your question in the Q&A box when it becomes available later on, and one of our producers, Lisa, will reply in Welsh. Captioning is available throughout, so to access this, you can click the CC closed caption button, which is usually found at the bottom of the screen on Zoom. I'm going to take a brief pause for you to find that button if it's something that you'd like to use. In terms of audio description, we're aware that some people will be listening today rather than watching, so all of the speakers will begin by providing a description of themselves as part of their introduction, as I did just now, and we'll also be reading or describing the contents of each of the slides as we go. Finally, we are recording the session for those who can't join us today or would need to leave early. The recording will be shared online on our website, immersivearts.uk, along with the transcript, and that'll be available shortly after this session. Okay. Let's get started. So Ruth, if you wouldn't mind sharing slides. After I finish speaking with you in just a moment, I will be handing it over to my colleagues. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the menu of the day to give you a sense of what's coming up. So this is the welcome section, and then shortly I will be handing over to Allan Sudlow. So Allan is Director of Partnerships and Engagement at the Arts and Humanities Research Council, sometimes referred to as AHRC. Allan will be talking a bit about the unique funding partnership that has come together in support of this work and the hopes that Allan and the funders have for this programme. I will then hop back in with you, along with my colleagues, Jo Verrent from Unlimited and Asha Easton from XR Diversity Initiative, two of the Immersive Arts Consortium partners, and they'll be giving us some more information about the programme as a whole. We will then be joined by Ruth McCullough, Executive Producer of Immersive Arts from Watershed, and producers Colm and Lisa from Consortium Partners, Nerve Centre and the Wales Millennium Centre respectively, who will be sharing that all-important detailed information about grant funding that's available now. We will follow this with a short 5-minute break, partly so that you don't listen to me non-stop. And during that 5-minute break, that Q&A box will be open, so that will be your great opportunity to digest, think about anything outstanding, share your questions with us and put them in that Q&A. And after those 5 minutes, we'll come back and have a Q&A session to work through as many of those questions as we can. Some of your questions will be replied to by our amazing producing team who are with us in the background via text directly in the Q&A box. Others will be selected to be answered live by the panellists in the last 10-15 minutes of the session. So all of that yet to come. It's now my absolute pleasure to hand over to Allan Sudlow from AHRC to take it from here. Over to you, Allan.
Thank you, Verity. Can everybody hear me? Who's able to hear me? Brilliant. Thank you, Verity, for the introduction. I'm a Director of Partnerships and Engagement at AHRC. I am a bald white male with glasses. I like to think I'm in my late 50s, probably nearer 60. I have a striped shirt and mustard coloured jacket. And I will also read out the contents of my slides, as well as adding a little bit more content to those that beyond that, what's written on the slides. So the first slide, please. Thank you. So this first slide is about who is funding immersive arts. It's entitled An Investment for the Whole of the UK. And on the left-hand side of the slide, we have the logos of all those funders involved, which include the Arts and Humanities Research Council, Arts Council England, Arts Council of Northern Ireland, Arts Council of Wales, and Creative Scotland. And I'm proud and pleased to be speaking on behalf of all of those funders today. Immersive Arts was designed to support artists and creative organisations in every part of the UK to undertake research and development in immersive arts. But it's a first of a kind collaboration between these funding partners, and we think this is really a key part of also what we want to do going forward in terms of immersive art across the UK. Through the Immersive Art Consortium and our brilliant production partners in the 4 nations, we are hopefully opening up opportunities to engage with immersive arts across all parts of the UK. Next slide, please. We're just skipping around on the slides. There we go. Our hopes for the programme. So our hopes for the programme really, I think, are already being realised. What we have on the slide is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. We want to support the art and cultural sector to develop skills and knowledge in immersive experience development. And you'll be hearing more about that through the Explore, Experiment and Expand structure of the Immersive Arts programme. The Immersive Arts Collaboration and Network is really building across the UK. It is connecting, and those connections were brought to life brilliantly in the recent The Big Thing event, which I think some of you may have attended. A key part of immersive arts is about really thinking about diversity and equality of opportunity. And you'll be hearing from the team about the activities they've been putting in place to ensure we are as inclusive as we can be on the application process. Artist and creative-led research, practice and production is really at the heart of this. This is about artists and creators and their vision and enabling them to deliver that vision through the Immersive Arts programme. We are developing a pipeline of funding that provides the opportunity at different scales of readiness. And this is the Explore, Experiment, Expand opportunities that you'll be hearing about shortly. And the slides, for those who can see them, you'll see that Immersive Arts has this brilliant inclusive logo of blobby things of various sorts, which you'll be seeing throughout the slides today. Next slide, please. So this final slide from me is about what we've achieved so far, or rather what Immersive Arts has achieved so far, which we as funders are really proud of. The level of interest for these awards has been amazing. So the slide says a strong demand from across the UK for immersive art activities and opportunities, and that has been a huge response. And I think that's also reflected in the number of you joining us today. There's also been great feedback so far on the accessibility of how we've approached this. And I think that also comes through in terms of the Big Thing event, where we were really open around the level of demand and what we were looking for from applications. And of course, you'll be able to ask the team about some of those things today. That leads to the third bullet on the slide, which talks about inclusive and transparent funding opportunities. And something else, the next point on the slide is talking about effective mapping and connecting of the immersive arts sector. Really, immersive arts isn't just about the brilliant work that the team are doing around the calls and the opportunities. They are also working hard behind the scenes, thinking around where immersive art continues to help grow that ecosystem of immersive creative R&D production across the UK. Final point on the slide talks about enthusiastic engagement with the big thing, which is the showcase for immersive arts. And I was pleased to be able to join you for about a day and a half at the last big thing, or the first big thing, which was in Bradford, which was full of amazing talks, networking, showcasing, and knowledge exchange opportunities. To sum up, I think immersive art is really about connecting artists, creatives, researchers, and producers, enabling them to experiment, explore, and expand the UK's potential in immersive art, and that means your potential. So please do make the most of today. Thanks for coming along, and I'm absolutely certain it will be useful to you. And on that point, I'll hand over to Verity.
Thank you, Allan. That's wonderful. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the Immersive Arts programme as a whole. What are we doing, and the elements that might be most relevant or interesting to you. So the programme, as you've heard, is called Immersive Arts, but it's also called XRDI because, of course, we are a bilingual programme and we work across the whole of the UK. So what is it? And I guess importantly, how can you engage with it? We've been going for about a year and a half. So for some of you, this won't be your first experience connecting with us. But for those who are less familiar, to give some context, this is a £6 million development scheme designed to support artists across Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland and England to engage with immersive technologies. Over the life of this programme, we are supporting over 200 artists through what we hope is an inclusive and accessible programme of research, training, events, and by distributing over £3.6 million of grant funding across the UK. As some of you might be aware, the first round of funding took place at the end of last year, and 83 grants were made to support people in developing their practice and in progressing their immersive arts projects. You can see more detail of those live projects on our website. Our second and final call for applications is now live, more on that shortly, and we're really looking forward to hearing from you through that application process. So who are we? Allan's spoken a little bit about the unique and fantastic matrix of funders that have come together to support this work. And the Immersive Arts programme is itself a coming together of incredible partners from across the UK, consortium partners who are themselves embedded and heavily committed to supporting the UK's immersive arts and research communities, and are committed to creating positive change in this sector. So the programme lead is the University of the West of England, sometimes referred to as UWE Bristol, and that's my home institution. The programme hub is actually where we are today, where I am today, which is the Pervasive Media Studio, a creative technology research and development space run by Watershed in partnership with UWE Bristol and the University of Bristol. And our executive producing company is Watershed, who have a dual role as the exec producer and as the lead partner in England. Our research partners are the University of Bristol and Innovate UK Immersive Tech Network. There are sort of logos for all of us on screen if you're following along. And we have, as I mentioned, producing partners who are actively involved within the creative communities in each of the 4 nations. So in England, that's Watershed, who are based in Bristol. In Northern Ireland, that's Nerve Centre, who are based between Derry and Belfast. In Scotland, that is Cryptic, who are based in Glasgow. And in Wales, that's the Wales Millennium Centre, who are based in Cardiff. We also have some fantastic UK-wide partners who work across the whole partnership. So Crossover Labs are an immersive media training and artist development company based in Sheffield. Unlimited are an extraordinary company commissioning disabled artists and changing the perceptions of disability, based in Wakefield. And the XR Diversity Initiative are an incredible organisation promoting inclusivity in the XR community, and they're based in London. So we really are a very distributed team, and we are in all corners of the UK. So funding, as we've heard, is brilliantly provided through AHRC, Arts Council England, the Arts Council of Wales, Creative Scotland, and the Arts Council of Northern Ireland. Funding from Creative Scotland, Arts Council Wales, and Arts Council of Northern Ireland is provided by the National Lottery. So it's quite a community before we've even started. We are really grateful for the continued support and vision of all involved in putting this programme together, and we're also very fortunate to be supported by an incredible advisory board with experts joining us from around the world who are supporting this project and connecting the team and the artists that we work with to a global community of practice. So this might be on your mind. Immersive is perhaps the most brilliant way to start an argument in a pub. So we know that the word immersive can be a very slippery term. It means lots of different things in different sectors and to different people, and that we are not claiming to be the authority on what it is or what it isn't. We're not here to be the immersive police. However, we know that for the sake of this scheme, it's really helpful that we define what we mean in this context. It hopefully helps people to work out if what they're doing or what they want to do is relevant to this programme, and so that they spend their time wisely in terms of deciding if they'd like to engage or what they might get from engaging with us. So for the purposes of this programme, and this programme only, immersive arts in this context means art that uses technology to actively involve the audience. We're interested in the use of immersive technologies such as virtual, augmented and extended reality in the creation of artwork that perhaps bridges between physical and digital spaces, work that engages multiple senses, artwork that connects people to each other and to their environment. We know that even with this definition, it's still very broad, and that is deliberate. We do that on purpose. This is by design to give you enough shaping to start to think about how it may relate to your practice, but not constraining you to specific tools or methods, and allowing you to bring something of your own interpretation to the mix. Perhaps the Q&A would be a good place to start that argument again. I always enjoy it. One of the ways that you can connect with the programme is through our events programme. In fact, this webinar is part of that, so you're doing it already. Well done, you. We do run a really broad range of events and training sessions around the UK and online, providing opportunities, some opportunities specifically for those who are funded by our funding programmes, and also some that are just for anyone who's curious or for whom it's the right moment to engage. Coming up, we have 5 inspiration days that will be hosted around the UK in each of the 4 nations. Our inspiration days are specifically designed to support those who already work in the arts, in the creative sector, but may be new to immersive tech and curious about what it might bring to their practice. These inspiration days will be taking place in early September, and we'll be announcing dates very soon in early August. So if you haven't already, I would recommend signing up to the Immersive Arts newsletter to be the first people to know about these sorts of programmes of events and happenings going on in your area. The training and development activity is also integrated into the funding support that we offer. And for example, producers in each of the 4 nations work closely with funded artists to support their progress, to foster kinship and community, and to connect up activity across the UK and globally. Our amazing partners at Crossover Labs, Unlimited and XRDI Initiative all run tailored events and activities throughout the programme to support people with different lived experience and to meet them where they are at different stages in their creative development. One way that we integrate the programme is through our research. We are a research programme, and research flows through all aspects of the programme in different ways. It's complex, and I'm not going to spend too much time with it here. But just to let you know that the core research team is based at the University of the West of England, University of Bristol, and the Innovate UK Immersive Tech Network. Additionally, our producers who work in each of the 4 nations are themselves action researchers and work really closely with the community of artists on the programme to understand and share learning and to advocate for positive change in the sector. On the screen, we have the 3 core themes that we tend to look at across the programme. The first of these is artist and audience development. So we investigate questions such as, what appeal do immersive realities hold for artists? What ambitions do you have for these emerging forms? What concerns do artists have about the impact of these art forms on the wider society and on the artistic sector? And how do we design for and with people with diverse access requirements? We look at the tools and technologies involved in this sort of fast-changing sector. So we look specifically at what artist-led development of tools might be. We believe that artists often ask the best questions of technology. So what are those questions and how can we integrate that into technology pipelines? And we look at specific areas of challenge, such as the enhanced integration of artificial intelligence in the immersive sector and things like ethical approaches to data and privacy. And our final theme is around infrastructure and ecosystem. So we are interested in what already exists in the UK and in the global immersive arts ecosystem, what is missing and what can we connect to and what can we build. So that's a whistle-stop tour of some of the different facets of the Immersive Arts programme. I'm now delighted to hand over to my colleagues, Asha Easton from the XRDI Initiative and Jo Verrent from Unlimited, who will talk a bit more about some of the core values that have shaped and continue to shape this programme. Over to you, Asha and Jo.
Great, thank you, Verity. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Asha Easton. My pronouns are she, her. I am a mixed race, half British, half Guyanese, cisgender woman with curly brown hair in my 30s, wearing a zebra print dress. And the slide that I'm looking at is all pink. It says access, inclusion, and diversity in English and Welsh. And there's a little white character lifting one leg up. So I'm a co-founder of the XRDI Initiative, one of the Immersive Arts Consortium partners. I'm going to talk a bit about why equity, diversity, and inclusion is a core principle of the Immersive Arts program. So this program has been designed to be welcoming, inclusive, accessible, and a program that celebrates and reflects the rich diversity of artists living in the UK. So we aim for disabled artists and artists from all other minority backgrounds to be able to seamlessly take part in all aspects of the program, and for all artists to proportionally consider access and inclusion in whatever they are working on. So we don't want people to be considered different, difficult, or divergent. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important because it's needed in order to recognize the history of structural imbalance across the cultural sector, all of the inequalities, barriers, and discrimination. We want to make a real commitment to make the sector inclusive to everyone. And we want to make a change in the way immersive arts shows up in the UK with a program that is backed up with clear targets across all aspects of the program. So what are we doing to make this happen? First of all, we've embedded expertise within the consortium from the start through the inclusion of XRDI and Unlimited, which is a leading commissioner of disabled artists within the UK, as Verity mentioned. And we have built access into all of our events, both online and offline. We've created an accessible application process, which we always welcome feedback on. We have direct access support for disabled people who find it difficult to apply without having somebody working with them. And we've got some funding allocated for that to get that help they need. We've created a relaxed track in the program for funded artists who can't do a consistent 9-to-5 day. So there is a flexible option on how to engage with the program if you are funded. We also work to ensure supported artists have space and skills to think about access requirements in the earliest stages of design of their work, all the way through distribution and testing work with diverse audiences. We've also got a transparent balancing process in place. So in order to hit proportional targets, we have to balance the applications to ensure equal opportunities across gender, ethnicity, and disability, and across all of the countries and regions in the UK. And we do aim to fund at least in line with UK demographics. And finally, this consortium is committed to also re-examining the way that we advocate for change, including how we talk with the funders and policymakers that we work with across the government on how to do things well. So we have built this program around social model thinking. We are committed to remaining curious in this process, and we are always open to iterating as and when necessary. We feel this is vital work and it is core and central to our program, but it's not coming from a place of anything heavy or negative. We believe that centering ED9 makes the scheme more joyful and abundant for everyone involved, and making everything we do and ensuring everything that we support is welcoming for everyone. We just feel it's the right thing to do. So now we will host a specific deep dive into Access next week. So on July 28th from 4 to 5 p.m. during the Immersive Arts Ask About Access drop-in session, we will make space for more active conversations about this part of the program and what your needs might be and any deep questions you have. But in the meantime, I will pass over to my colleague Joe Verrent from Unlimited, who will expand on some of the finer details. Joe?
Hi, I am Jo. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a white woman, white top, red stripes. I'm nearly 60 and I'm at home in Wakefield. I'm the director of Unlimited, and that's an organisation that you've heard centres on the commissioning of disabled artists. So I'm going to deep dive into some of the specifics of Access. If we can go to the next slide, please. And as Asha says, you can find out even more next week at the Access drop-in. So we really wanted the whole programme to be built with Access in mind. So the website is W3C compliant up to AA standard, and we've tried to structure all the information there into a logical and easy to follow way, paying attention to language levels and to layout. The guidelines that we've been referring to, they're available in standard print, obviously, but also in large print, in easy read format, in BSL, British Sign Language, in audio format, and also, because as Verity said, we're a bilingual programme, in the Welsh language. But it doesn't stop there. You can also apply in different formats too. You can apply in text in a fairly standard way, or by the same application portal, you can apply in audio or by using video. And again, you can use English, Welsh, or British Sign Language, and we'll do the translation labour the other side. That's not all. In some cases, we can help you further too by supporting access costs, such as support workers or interpreters, things like that. Next slide, please. So if you need that kind of support, the best place to start is on the website. And go to the web page, go to the menu, go to the resources and look at the access to support kind of page. There you'll find out about access support generally, how to get support for your application, how to book a call with a producer or a video call, audio call, whatever. And also it goes through the support that we can provide for artists who get funding, because obviously getting your application through is one thing. We then want to provide support through the whole of the programme too. We have to say that we can provide support in some cases because we have a limited budget, and that needs to stretch quite widely to meet the needs of everybody. This is why we assess access requirements rather than automatically give people exactly what they ask for. We're delighted to meet all the reasonable adjustments that we can, and our budget often means we can go into a much wider range of things than you might think. Next slide, please. Oh, I thought there was another one. There isn't. So we'll just pause there. If you make it through and get an award, we use those same principles. We try and make as much of what we do accessible to everybody generally, and then we top up individual access needs using that access pot. The standard things that we always do is things like having a written agenda or a written timetable, which is sent out in advance. Note takers are standard. Rest spaces, all physical events, etc. If you're going to apply for the experiment strand, then there is a 5-day residential, but you can also do that intensive in a less intensive way, a way where that content is spread over 10 half days across 2 months to ensure that that content is accessible to a wider range of people. Everybody who gets through gets a link to a named specific producer. They're not there to produce your work, but they are there to help you get on and stay on track. And your producer will have a range of knowledge around disability access and inclusion, and they can also put you in touch with me or Asha or Nina if you need more in-depth info or support. And Unlimited runs some drop-ins for disabled artists for peer-to-peer support and some deeper sharing sessions too. Again, we'll talk more about those on the 28th of July if you're interested in finding out more then. I just want to end this section by saying we know at the moment that disabled people feel under extreme threat, with the proposed benefit changes to PIP and universal credit being debated and the radical changes to access to work being proposed. We do still encourage people to apply to access to work, as it's the only way to ensure that we keep that vital scheme going. But our access support is there to ensure that people don't go without the vital support that they need in order to access the programme equitably. That's all on access for now. We'll see you on the 28th if it's of interest to you for a relaxed Zoom chat if you want to find out more. I'm passing back to Ruth.
Hello. My name's Ruth McCullough. As Joe said, I'm the exec producer on the programme. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a white cisgender woman in my mid-40s with thick grey shoulder-length hair, and I'm wearing a green and white stripy top. So myself and some of the producing team are going to talk through the funding that's available and the process of how to apply. So this is the second round of Immersive Arts funding, and it follows a similar format to the first round with 3 strands of funding available. Explore at £5,000, Experiment at £20,000 and Expand at £50,000. Each strand is designed to support artists at different stages of their creative development with immersive technologies. Eligible artists can submit one application in this funding round to one of the 3 strands, so either to Explore, Experiment or Expand. And you can apply for funding in this round regardless of whether you applied in a previous round as well. Okay, so I'm just going to talk through each strand in a little bit more detail. And first up is Explore, and on the screen there's a text summary of the Explore strand funding, which is for £5,000, and we have some of our Explore character at the side of the screen, which has a cloud head and long thin legs sliding into view. So Explore is ideal for artists with little or no experience in immersive arts. So individuals, small creative collectives or organizations with 10 people or fewer. And some examples of what the fund could be used for to help artists with is early stage exploration of immersive technologies, developing basic immersive skills and knowledge, experiencing immersive artworks. You could be meeting potential collaborators and partners, or expanding your immersive arts network. And successful applicants will be supported for up to 6 months by the immersive arts producers and the wider network. And this includes 3 meetings with your assigned producers, facilitated peer-to-peer network through artists' monthly meetings online and a Discord channel, and invitations to join nation-specific events and opportunities. So on to Experiment, and again on the screen there's a summary overview of this Experiment strand funding of £20,000 with one of the Experiment characters with a fuzzy head and dotty blue eyes. So this strand is ideal for artists who have got an idea or a concept and they want to test it with a small audience. So again, it's for individuals, small creative collectives or organizations of 10 people or fewer, and it's to help artists create experimental artworks, proof of concepts or prototypes, and to test those out with a small audience or user group in order to gain learnings or insights before moving on to like a full production. So it allows artists to experiment with immersive technology in a way that is new or develops your practice. And in the application, we ask about that, you know, what will it support you to do that's new or developing? We want you to support artists to embed access, diversity and inclusion relevant to the project as well. The funding for this is supported for up to 9 months. And within that time, you get the same support as Explorer, contact with producers, the peer-to-peer network that I outlined earlier, but you also get the training that we talked about, that Joe and Asha touched on, the development lab. So that sort of happens at the start of the program, and it's led by crossover labs, and it's either the week-long development or the online relax trap, and that's focused on idea development, user experience approach, or audience strategy opportunities, and getting you to that point where you're ready to move forward and start making and testing that work. And the third strand is expand. So again, there's a text summary of expand on the screen, and one of the funky expand characters, it looks like it's been inflated around the middle. And expand's ideal for artists with an immersive project in development. So it's open to creative teams or collective organizations of 50 people or fewer. So it's intended to help artists significantly progress an existing project or prototype and help bring well-developed concepts to fruition, enhance audience engagement and reach, and again, to embed access, diversity and inclusion that's relevant to their project. The timeline for this is that projects will be supported for up to 12 months, and they will be given bespoke mentoring designed by crossover labs, and again, have similar support that I outlined for the other two strands. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague Lisa now, who's going to talk in North Wales, talk more about who can apply and what you can apply for.
Helo, so pnawn da, Lisa dwi, a dwi'n gynhyrchydd sy'n byw yng Ngogledd Cymru mewn pentre anhygoel o'r enw Glyndwrdwy. I'm Lisa and I'm one of the producers on the programme. I'm based in North Wales and my pronouns are she, her. I am a white cisgender woman. I've got blonde curly hair, black round glasses, yellow semicircle earrings, and I'm wearing a block pattern dress. So who can apply? The slide on the screen is coral coloured with the heading who can apply and some bullet points underneath. Some of what I'm about to say has been covered before, but I think it's still really important that we get this across really clearly. So in terms of who's eligible, you can apply if you're an individual artist, a creative practitioner, or a creative technologist. You can apply if you're working as part of a small group, a collective, or an arts-based organisation. And what we mean by small is up to 10 people if you're applying for Explore or Experiment, or up to 50 people if you're applying for Expand. You'll need to be based in the UK, aged 18 or over, and have a UK bank account in your own name. You can only apply once in this round. So as Ruth said, just one application to either Explore or Experiment or Expand. But you can apply if you submitted an application in the previous round. So the next slide. What can you apply for? The slide on the screen is dark blue in colour with a title that reads, "What can I apply for?" and has bullet points underneath that I'll go through now. The funding can cover a range of costs, including project development. That's the planning, research and delivery of your immersive arts project. Materials and equipment, so things like tech or tools or software licenses that you might need. Professional fees, it's very important. Payment for yourself, your collaborators, technicians or any other roles involved in the project. Training, so formal or informal learning that supports your work on the project. Travel, accommodation and subsistence. So if your project involves research trips, events or collaborations that require that. And for Experiment and Expand only, you can also include marketing and audience development costs. It can include venue hire. So for any studios, rehearsal spaces, events or installations that you're planning as part of the project. And access and inclusion. So things that make your project more accessible and inclusive for audiences, like captioning or interpreters or alternative formats. And just to clarify on that last point, which goes over something that Joe mentioned before, if you or your team have access needs, things like you might need a support worker or interpreter, you don't need to include those in the application budget right now. If your application is successful, we'll work with you to understand the support you'll need for the project specifically. So finally, you should apply for the full amount available for the strand you're applying to. So that's applying for £5,000 for Explore, £20,000 for Experiment and £50,000 for Expand. And brilliantly, there's no need to have any match funding in place, although you could have some, but we're not asking for that. So I'm now going to pass over to Colm, our producer in Northern Ireland, to share when and how to apply. Diolch.
Hi, I'm Colm. I am the producer at the Nerve Centre based in Northern Ireland. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a white man in my early 40s with short dark hair and a beard and wearing a navy jumper. The slide on screen at the moment is when to apply. The slide shows a table outlining the timelines for making an application, when we expect to notify applicants, and project durations. All 3 funding strands are open for applications now. The deadline for applications is 2 p.m. on Monday, the 29th of September 2025. All applicants will be notified in January 2026, with projects kicking off in February. This shows a recap on duration of project, durations for each strand, which Ruth spoke about earlier. Expand has a slightly different application and timeline, with applicants making a simple stage 1 application. The shortlisted candidates will be invited to a second stage interview in December. So next slide. How to apply. This slide on screen shows the application portal once you've successfully logged in. All applications must be made through our online application portal. To apply for funding, you need to create an account on our application portal. The web address for this is at the bottom of the screen, immersivearts.grantplatform.com. Once you've set up your account, you can select which strand you wish to apply for. You can only apply for 1 strand in this round. You can save and return to your application. You don't need to complete it all in one go. Make sure you complete all required sections and upload all requested documents before submitting, as once your application is submitted, it can't be edited. And as Joe explained earlier, you can make an application by text, audio, or video, and in English, Welsh, or British Sign Language. Please check the specific guidance in the application form for each question to ensure your answers are within the word count, time limit, and file size. If you need help to access or submitting your application, please get in touch. Next slide, please. How to apply. The slide on screen shows a resource page available on our website, with resource categories listed on the left-hand side of the screen and a grid with images and text showing each resource. On our website, we have lots of resources to help you apply. A step-by-step guide for the application funding portal, previews of the application questions so you can prepare them outside the application portal if that works better for you, a funding quiz to help guide you to the right funding strand, an immersive glossary, guidelines, and much more. So I'd like now to hand back to Verity.
Thank you very much. That's fantastic amounts of detail and hopefully useful to everyone here. We will now be opening up the Q&A function so that you can start to share any questions or thoughts that you have with us. We're going to take a 5-minute break to allow you to do that, so you can contribute your questions using the Q&A box. You will also see questions posted by other people. So if someone else has asked something that you're also curious about, you can click on the little thumbs up icon and that upvotes that. So that calls our attention to questions that have lots of support behind them. When we come back in 5 minutes, Ruth, Asha, Joe, and myself will address as many of these questions as we can live, and our fantastic team of producers will aim to be answering even more via text in the Q&A box. Anything we don't get to, we will read everything, and we'll make sure that we update our FAQs section to incorporate any that we don't get to today. So we're going to take 5 minutes now. We will see you back here at 16:49, there or thereabouts, to make sure we can pack in as many questions as possible. Thanks very much. Thank you, everybody. That's an amazing array of questions that I can see have come in a very short space of time. Thank you so much for gathering thoughts so quickly and sharing with us. I'm going to invite my colleague Ruth to chair this Q&A and to bring forwards as many questions as we can in the next 10 minutes. Just in case it hasn't been immediately apparent, we have an amazing team of Immersive Arts colleagues working in the background to answer a lot of the questions via text as well. So you may find that if your question doesn't come in live, it's still being responded to as quickly as we can manage. Okay, Ruth, is there anything that you want to kick us off with?
Yes, just trying to see what's been most upvoted and what people want to talk about. But I think there's a good question here. Can the collaborative work be international? I think, Verity, could I hand that one to you?
Sure, it's a great question. So first of all, Immersive Arts is quite specifically a kind of grounded UK programme. It's been designed to support the development of the UK ecosystem and artists working and basing themselves here in the UK. So as you can infer from that, our priority is to think about how we support artists based in the UK. That said, we know that part of being an artist based in the UK is connecting internationally with your networks, with your collaborators, with your audiences, and we don't in any way want to kind of draw an edge around the UK in terms of the reach and the impact of the way that you work. So to that end, if your ambition is to have international collaborators, or you're kind of gearing towards international touring, for example, and it makes sense to have partnerships that are outside of the UK, it's absolutely fine to include those. I think it does become a bit of a question mark for us if we receive applications where it's quite clear that the majority of the creative or the kind of impact-based work is likely to happen outside of the UK. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a flavour. There's not a sort of like an ineligibility around international partnerships, but we would expect the majority of the activity and the impact to be based somewhere within the UK. Does that make sense? Is there anyone else who wants to come in on that?
That's great. Thank you, Verity. I've got an access and diversity and inclusion question for Joe here. So we're not sure how best to develop the access, diversity and inclusion of our project. For example, if we're proposing an installation that engages audience members through physical movement, can we make research regarding access needs as part of our project proposal, or do we need to have devised a plan to account for different access needs?
Nope, you can absolutely research it. I would say do a bit of research before you put the application in. Don't present us with something that is absolutely commonplace everywhere else. But yeah, absolutely. Really do think about how you want to experiment that within what you do. And also, I just want to clarify, because it came up in another question. When we were talking about the access support that we provide, the individual funding, that's for disabled artists who need that fund to do their work. All of you should be thinking about access for audiences within all of your applications, and that should show up within your main budget. That's not special funding, that's just business as usual.
And we recognize that, you know, some technologies, immersive technologies, are still inherently inaccessible in some ways. So we're not exactly expecting you to solve all of those challenges yourself, but we do want to see your thinking behind how you intend to make your work inclusive.
Great, thank you both. So we have a question here about eligibility, and it says, can I apply for Expand for my project? For my organisation is working on to commission 10 unknown artists to be selected by an open call, to work with 10 unknown partners to be selected by an open call, and to deliver 10 immersive commissions. So this is a question that's come up quite frequently, and we've fed back in the commentary. Verity, do you want to take that one?
So I think you were about to. I didn't need to jump in. Yeah, actually, the commentary is a good thing to mention. After the first round, we did share a commentary document that hopefully collects the feedback, particularly around eligibility, to support anyone looking at this process now. So I'm sure we'll pop that in the chat. But to the specific question, one of the things that this fund cannot support is effectively to fund another programme. So for example, in that case, it sounds like it would be really wanting to run a scheme, which then has its itself sort of a commissioning process to bring in 10 new artists to then work with them. So it's a kind of a program within a program. And unfortunately, we're not set up to be able to support that kind of work. So the applications that you put into immersive arts should be a specific thing that is led by an artist or arts organisation that is to do a particular piece of work, rather than we will effectively kind of do further commissioning and sort of effectively almost like subcontract within the program. So that will be out of scope. Thank you very much for that question.
Thank you. And this is another frequently asked question, I think, and I'm going to hand it to you again, Verity, apologies, but could you clarify the need to actively involve the audience requirement and maybe give some examples if possible?
Yeah, sure thing. So, so as mentioned before, our kind of definition, such as it is, of immersive arts is art that uses technology to actively involve the audience. And we've that sort of active involvement of the audience can be quite hard to nail down, but it is an important part of how we're understanding what this means and what is eligible. So there is a sort of a difference that we're making, or a distinction that we're making, between work that is actively involving, engaging, and kind of requiring of the audience to be present, rather than work that could exist if they weren't there. Be a slightly like sad thing if they weren't there, but for work that, for example, is kind of linear film based, traditional theatre, work that is sort of projection based but not responsive projection. We have seen some really wonderful, beautiful work presented, but that doesn't have that kind of active component of the audience. Doesn't mean that we're sort of asking for like push button interactivity in everything that you propose. An actively engaged audience can be a really broad range of different ways of that audience being an active participant. And to try and help with that, we have a list of sort of definitely in scope technologies that we know kind of actively engage the audience in the way that we're trying to describe here. It's not an exhaustive list, and we are always open to hearing that you want to work with a different form of immersive technology that you feel also actively engages the audience in some way. But yeah, we offer a sort of a list of the ones that are certainly kind of meeting that expectation as far as we've seen in others' art practice. And within the commentary, we also give some tips about those that were applied for in the last round and found to be kind of not meeting that criteria of actively engaging the audience. So hopefully there's some useful kind of specificity in there that will help you decide if this is the right fund for you.
Yeah, thanks, Verity. And we have another expand question around: does expand require a well-developed prototype and some funding already in place, given the project is already in development, has undergone some audience testing? Is it intended to build on and complete the project? So I think in terms of expand, we in the application we do ask for, to understand what stage your project is at and evidence of that, and that can be lots of different types. Prototyping and user testing and audience testing means different things in different contexts for projects, so we're quite open to what that might look like, but we want to be able to see that the project has been tested and there is a prototype or proof of concept there to build on as well. In terms of match funding needing to be in place, we're not asking for that, but we do understand that some of these projects are, a mix and match of lots of different funding from different places. So you don't need to tell us about match funding, but if it helps you articulate the stage of the project, you're very welcome to tell us that if it helps us understand more fully where you're at. But again, it won't be treated more advantageously if you do have that within the project as well. Have you anything to add to that?
I slightly lost the logic thread at the end. I think we're saying it won't be treated any more or less advantageously if it has or doesn't have much funding. It's not
yeah.
I'm sure that's what you said, but I got lost.
I might have muddled my words, but yes, match funding is not more advantageous as well. Okay.
We've got a couple of minutes. What else have we got?
We've got a question on how will you be assessing the potential to positively impact the applicant's creative practice, and what kind of evidence or articulation of this potential are you looking for?
Me?
Would you like to?
Yeah, I mean, I think the 3 strands are designed to meet people at different parts of their development. I mean, explore strand particularly is designed for people to take on kind of personal development work. So it should really be like, how would you like to use this resource to develop your practice, to learn, to discover new skills, to connect with wider communities, to kind of test out possible collaborations. It's all about how this will kind of unlock something for you, or let you explore and experiment with something in a way that doesn't have any obligation to then kind of make a finished piece of work. It's entirely about you and your practice. For the experiment and the expand strands, they're more focused on a particular piece of work, and so there's a sort of a blend then between how it positively impacts on you as a practitioner, and how the work itself may have reach into different kind of ways that it will have impact. And really, I think this is going to sound really general, but like we just want to hear from you what is the sort of the power behind it. Why does it matter? Why do you want to do it? And impact will mean such different things in different contexts, but there will be a reason why you really want to get this work started, or get it made, or to develop your practice. And I think the influence is really about you telling us, like, what difference does this make, and why is it what you want to do right now? It really helps us to understand what that impact is going to be.
Great, we're coming to the end of our time now, so I think we'll wrap up there. The producers are chatting away. They're trying to answer as many questions as possible in the time that we have, but just to let people know that there is a lot of resources on the website.
There are. So thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure. And as I say, you can keep an eye on all things immersive arts by signing up to our newsletter, or by following us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, or Instagram. We're quite chatty on all of those spaces. As Ruth says, there's lots of information, guidelines, tips, tricks, and quizzes on the Immersive Arts website. And we really look forward to hearing from you in the coming weeks and months. Thank you so much for your time.